That worked a lot easier than last time.
Today we're going to do opposite. We're going to go right into it, and then business stuff.
Okay. Sure.
Okay. So you pink, you're yellow.
Okay.
Roughly. Doesn't have to go extremely like that, but grab a pen.
Got it. I got a pen. Oh, you need one.
Over there. You're asleep. Good morning, Renny Doyle podcast. Chris is in the house. We're in Big Bear.
Yeah. He's always in Big Bear. I'm in
Not
Big
always. I wish I was always. Did you know? Okay, I've got a friend of mine that lives here. Did you know he hasn't been down the hill in 6 years?
Bear. Oh, good for
At
him.
all. Right? Is that cool or what? I mean, he lives his complete life in the mountains and doesn't leave. And I'm like, wow, man, that's pretty cool. So we're here to do some business. We'll talk about that at the end. Why you're here today? There's meaning to it. Got a lot going
I know
on.
you wanted to jump right into it, but I made sure, last time I got given crap.
You
for
wore a
wearing
shirt.
plain blue shirt.
Yeah, you did.
And so I got my Baja Bug shirt on.
See, I like that one. I like that. That was probably, so I had my Baja, so they come in two different ways, right? They've got the lights out on the fenders and then the inside lights. Mine had the inside lights. I never liked it, but now I like it.
Mine has the inside
Yeah,
lights
I like
too.
the inside lights.
Has more character.
But back in the 80s when I had mine, it was the hip thing, all the Baja, they're building them with those lights outside and stuff. So,
Well, this is actually an old Tamiya RC car kit from like the 70s and 80s.
really?
And I think they called it the Baja Scorcher, if I remember right.
Huh. I probably remember that,
So-
but I wanted mine to look like that and it didn't.
Yeah, mine doesn't look
Yeah,
like that
it
either.
didn't. It didn't. So we're in Big Bear. Tough times don't last, but tough people do. This was your idea off of, you want to kind of go into it where you kind of,
Yeah, we
went
got
with this.
We got an email from somebody in the inbox this week, and it was actually something that we subscribed to, and that was the headline of the email. And then I started, I thought, hey, that's kind of cool saying. So I started digging into it, and I don't have the notes in front of me, but there's a guy that wrote a book with that title.
Yeah.
A long time ago. I think the book's probably at least 30 years old.
Well, I love this title because it doesn't matter if you're going into great times. We are going into great times. For those that kind of view things like this, and I'll share a little bit here in a second, is that everybody looks at the economic time. It's going to hit some people, right? It always does. It's a correction. Listen, we've gone a long time without it. But this is all about, this has nothing to do with the economy and really what it's going to do. It's, you've got some notes in here. It's weird, right? I mean, even the big shots are kind of confused, but I think they're getting clarity is coming to them, of what's happening now. I mean,
yeah, but this certainly applies no matter what kind of tough times you're going to.
Oh yeah,
it could be economic, it could be tough times with your family, tough times with health, whatever it is.
yeah. It's been. I was talking. Our daughter got back from school last night. She leaves at about 5:45 a.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Drives down to Orange County, does school all day long, so she doesn't have to go back consecutive days because she wants to get home. And I think she got home about 9:30, 10 last night. And it was a tough day. It was a tough day. You could tell when she walked in, she's just drained. And so I kind of tried to let a little bit of this down for her. But 18 years old, think she was buying it?
Probably not.
Nah, no interest, man. No interest. So I love this quote: "Success is the sum of small efforts repeated day in and day out." And that's Robert Kohler said that. And it's again, no matter where you're at in life or your business, all these things, Chris, you're absolutely right. All of these things come back to every part of your life. We always call it in search and rescue is the will to live. Is when we get somebody, we've come across people that we thought, no way is that person going to make it off the mountain. We're not going to get them off this mountain. And they just had this great outlook and they made it. There's, to my knowledge, they're still alive today. And then you get these people that have got pretty minor injuries, but they're freaking out. They got this horrible mindset. They go into shock and they die. And it's like, whoa, how can this happen? We had a lady, her head was split open. You could see her brains. Yeah, you could see the front of it. And she was so concerned about, she's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry to put you guys out. And, and it was sad. I won't go into the whole situation, but she's in a horrible accident. And it was there for a while. I mean, like a day and a half with nobody finding her. And when we found her, we're like, how is this lady alive? And then taking her down the mountain, we found out exactly why she was alive, because she just had this amazing outlook, and she lived. And to my knowledge, she's alive today. And we thought there is no way. And we keep going down, and we're all looking at each other like, is this really happening? And it was amazing. And then we had this really tough guy, and I think he watched a little too much Bear Gyles, Survivor, type stuff. And and Bear, I don't want to, people have, he's the real deal. It shows just kind of anybody that's got into survival and stuff like that. He does things that kind of pisses me off, because then we get the Bear Gyles Juniors, or you get a guy that's my age with a big belly, and he's going to go out and he's got his Bear Gyles knife, he's got his Bear Gyles compass, and he's going to go out and he's got his cell phone. So if he gets in trouble, he's going to call for help. And, he's going down the waterfall rappelling. He's never rappelled before, and it's January. And, he's a tough guy, but, he bites it, an hour later, he's gone, because his outlook is horrible on life. So let's talk about this a little bit. You got some notes here. Let's talk about inflation.
Yeah. So, it's a weird time, right? I mean, we're seeing super odd, a super odd economy. I mean, it's just weird, right? Nobody's really seen this before. We had like killer spending. Everybody's making great money and all that kind of stuff. So many people don't want to work, aren't working, all that kind of weird stuff. But now we've got the inflation that's definitely out of control. I don't think we've ever seen at this level. And, to combat that, they're raising interest rates quite a bit.
Gas prices.
Gas prices are nuts.
I got to drive the truck down the hill tomorrow. I'm not looking forward to that.
For you guys who don't know, I think $3.50 to maybe $3.90 a gallon around most of the country right now.
Mm-hmm.
In California, here in LA area especially, we are paying around $6.50 a gallon.
Oh, it's over that. We paid almost $7 for premium. Matter of fact, we paid over $7 a gallon for premium.
That does not help inflation. It doesn't help people's spending habits. Nothing.
It's all going to come to. I mean, it can only go so far. And then you look at so I walked in. I'm going to name them. Can I name them? The company. So look at. I'm wearing these shoes.
Yeah, sure.
So I usually kind of cool, huh?
Yeah,
because
you guys can't see them, but they're Brooks running shoes.
Yeah.
And they're like a gray and lime green camo.
Yeah, they're cool. And my feet, are all beat up from all the years of abuse, but I've got these, and I have another pair of some of the guys that were here training last week had these gels, and they said, man, they're just incredible. So I went into a store. I don't know if I should name the store. Can I or no? Foot Locker might be the name. I'm not sure.
You're allowed to give your review.
So first off, I walk in and music was blaring, and I'm all about music, but it was obnoxiously. So I find 2 pair of shoes, and these things aren't cheap, right?
No. I
find 2 pair of shoes that I'm really interested in. There's 6 people working. 3 of them are talking to themselves. So long story short, and this gets back to, we have a choice of service and environment, and you want to see a company that's going to go down if they allow this to happen. I had to stand in line with everybody buying shoes, and this is pretty early in the morning. It was Saturday when I took the guys down from the training course. Pretty early, they just opened up. There's 3 people in front of me. The line's not moving. There's 6 people there. They're all fighting over who's responsible to do what.
Yeah.
So I get to I finally, all I want, and I hold up the shoes. And the gal goes, where are those from? And I said, Walmart? And she looked at me like I was crazy. I mean, I wanted to say, so I said, off the wall over there. And she goes, do you want to try them on? I was like, well, I'd like to. And she goes, okay. She goes, let me get somebody to help you. So she gets on a little walkie-talkie, special forces, SEAL team. What was that? What was Delta Farce? She gets on her Delta Farce, radio, and she's calling for help. This kid walks up to me. He doesn't look me in the eye, takes the shoes, and he says, what size? So I told him, and he says, do you want both? I went, yeah, I want to try both on. And he literally rolled his eyes and walked away.
Yeah.
Comes out. They can't find the one that I'm holding is my size, 10.5. It's the right size. He said, I can't find the other box. So try it on. I said, well, if you can't find the other box, what's the use of, if this is the only 10.5 there, and you can't find the other one, long story short, I bought these. They lost my credit card. I'm standing right in front of them. And I go, you haven't given me my credit card back. She goes, yeah, I did. And I said, no, you didn't. Because the terminal on the outside was busted, right? So she starts looking around. What slipped down in. She literally looks at me 10 times and tells me that I lost the credit card.
You lost it. Yeah.
So now, flash forward. Okay, not a real good buying experience, right? Walk out with 1 pair. Not good customer service. They're sending me the other pair. I get the other pair yesterday. Wrong size. So, I hate to tell you, if you're going to offer that kind of service, today we're going into a time to where I won't go back.
Yeah.
And I've probably bought 100 pair of shoes from Foot Locker through the years. Won't go back.
And they wonder why Amazon keeps kicking their butt.
Won't go back. I might go in there and try them on and see if they fit, and then order them off online. Now by comparison, a company I use that I found through Amazon, I buy shoes through them. Unbelievable customer service, follow up, everything else. Unbelievable. Yeah. You get a confirmation email before they everything's just laid out. So let's jump into this. Is that I've witnessed multiple economic slowdowns in my life. I'm 56 years old at the time of the filming. Proud 56, by the way. I like being 50 in my 50s. I've witnessed it, man. I've seen a lot. I remember the first. We didn't have I remember when back in the 70s, my mom and grandma are going to sell our house in Colton, and we're going to move here to Big Bear because I wanted to live in the mountains, something fierce. And we couldn't. You know why we couldn't? We could sell the house, but you know why we couldn't move here?
Because you couldn't buy one here.
Interest rates.
Yeah.
Interest rates were like 18%. It was crazy, and we were on welfare. You had to qualify, but at the time, Big Bear was probably pretty much a Section 8 town. A lot of poor people up here. The county would move them up here because it was really cheap to live, and so there was an enticement to move up here. They had a distribution location for our powdered milk that I so much love. I still get a gag reflex when I even think about it. Matter of fact, I don't know if I can drink my coffee now because I just thought about the powdered milk. But so the 80s, I remember that crisis hitting. I was a kid, but I remember that being talk. And I was like, I don't know what it means. Now I do. Could you imagine? Okay, take your house right now, take your payment at 3%, 4%, 2%, whatever you're at, and put it at 15%. It's not the price of the house. It's that interest rate that's going to kill you.
The cost of the money.
That's the cost of the money. So I lived through that. I lived through a 90s slowdown. We had a housing slowdown again. About every 5 years, it would hit us. Then in the 90s again, we had a tech bubble that hit. And so the tech bubble, do you remember that? You were probably coming out of high school?
I remember it.
What year did you graduate from high school?
94.
Jesus, yeah. So you're out of high school. You're in college. So the tech bus, but see, when you're that age, you really don't pay attention to things, right? I mean, because it doesn't affect you unless it affects your family, right? And so the tech bubble hit. And then 9/11 hits. Now, 9/11, why it was critical for us is because we're in an area, we had just launched another business in another industry. Literally months before that happened, we spent a lot of money, $200,000 launching this business. And it was all centric around aircraft. It was all around New Yorkers, San Francisco, Seattle, Southern California, people coming in to the area, and private jet, it shut down. Then we had National Guard all around our airport for a year. I mean, it really stagnated. But this is really what's cool is a very, very wealthy individual that we kind of set our company around, his company, Herb Allen and Company, is they reached out to us. They prepaid. And I've told this story before. They loved our business so much. They gifted us. They gave us $50,000. $25,000 was a credit. $25,000 was a get through the tough times. Did I take it? Did the poor me at that point in my life? I was in my early 30s. I had realized that when people offered a gift like that is because they saw value. I didn't see it as a handout. I saw it because, and you know what they did, man? They used our company. We sold that company 5 years later, and it was an amazing time. And though if Herb Allen's, I don't think he did it himself. I think that his staff recognized it, that we're the only executive transportation company ever up there, the only one, and they saw value in it. So we see all these slowdowns, and then 08, right? Now 08, where's 08 critical? And I'm going to get to this. Stay tuned because I know it's kind of boring right now. Is 08 hits, we had just sold, and I'd gotten out of running the detail shops in 2007. And so you want to know survival, let's talk.
Yeah, you were in a weird transition, right?
Oh, man, we were, we still had a big staff, but I'd kind of taken myself out. We'd spent a lot of money getting the training going. We'd leased, it was unbelievable, everything that went down. But here's the thing, I didn't freak out. And my point to this is you better take and partner up. And I'm going to tell you, not only do I understand these struggles, my pals, the people, a lot of them that we all understand the struggles because we've been through it. And not only we've been through it, but we settled down, we hunkered down. We're doing it right now. We hunker down. You've seen some stuff go away. We live simple. We're preparing for it. We're not preparing for doom and gloom. We're preparing for launch mode because it's going to take and kind of shift down for a second. It's like spinning tires on a car. Once they grab, it's going to take off. And so that's where we're at. Every economic slowdown, because of my attitude and outlook and all the pals that the people that have mentored and coached me, my peers that I look up to, everybody else, we have the same exact outlook is we're not in this. We're not going to survive it. We're going to dominate. We're going to come out stronger on the other side. It's not about looking at this and just surviving it. Now, if you're just starting out, I know some people that came into the industry in 2008 that were brand new. They didn't just survive. They built their companies up. In 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011, is that they actually took and grabbed market share away from people that were strong, that were no longer strong. They didn't have outlooks like this.
2008 was a big one for me because one, that's the one I lived through that affected me, so I remember it more. Right? Like
how did it affect you?
Oh man, well, we did all right as a family for sure, but the company I worked for back then went from being a $16 million a year company to a $4 million a year company.
That's kind of a big cut.
Didn't happen overnight, but it happened in 2 years. So by 2010, it was a $4 million a year company.
Yeah, down to a skeleton crew.
Oh yeah, we lost more than half our staff.
Yep.
I was not one of those, but I went at least 3, maybe 4 years total without a pay increase of any kind.
Yeah.
And then my wife was a teacher, or is a teacher still, and she was only about 6 years into her career back then. And so the threat of layoffs for her was real because there were all sorts of district cuts and cutbacks and everything else.
Well, that's what a lot of people don't realize is that when we get into economic, and listen, we talked to some powerful people the last 10 days, and we've kind of seen a roadmap where they're saying they think it's going. And now that they're starting to open up and they're starting to talk about it, 6 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, they really didn't know. Now, again, they're even wiser. They look, I might be up to 200,000 feet now. I used to be down in the trees. I used to be in the weeds, the daffodils, Yep. These guys are space shuttle, man. They're International Space Station. They're looking at stuff. They're looking at other universes, and so they're starting to talk about it, and they're starting to realize a couple simple things. The inflation, the value of gold, job rates, everything else, supply and demand. It's not going to take and come out good. We're not going to just skip over this and get out of it easy. It's going to be a little work to get out of it. And as long as you're willing to do the work, you're okay. So you've made some great notes here that Andy kind of shared.
Yeah. I was looking at the topic a little bit, and I follow Andy Frisell. I listen to his podcast fairly regularly, read his articles and stuff. And a while back, he outlined 8 habits of mentally tough people. Mm-hmm. And so, doesn't matter, like we said earlier, it doesn't matter what you're going through, whether it's financial issues, family stuff, your personal business is just in the toilet for some reason, whatever it is. But 8 habits of mentally tough people. So I thought we'd talk about each one and kind of our point of views on them. So the first one is mentally tough people challenge themselves.
This is really important because they don't only challenge themselves in business and growing things. Like, when people think of challenging themselves in business, they think of, the finances, of marketing, of contacts, of SOPs, and all those things are part of it. But challenging yourself comes in your personal life too. It's what you're doing, what I'm doing right now, watching what we eat, getting back into better shape. Listen, I've had this stupid thyroid thing going it's probably been going for 20 years, but it's been raging for 3 years. I can sit here and boo-hoo, or I've tried everything under the planet to change it. Is my horse. I'm jumping on at 56 years old, hadn't ridden in 30 years. I'm learning something new. The things that challenge yourself is not just the business side of things. It's everything around. It's challenging yourself. Andy's big into it, of reading every single day, of studying. But I love this thing is do things that require significant effort. Listen, if anytime, I don't care if the economy's at a peak, like we've seen it. I've never seen anything like we've seen what since COVID. I mean, look at the restaurants. Is the people that survived are you can't get into a good restaurant. It is packed. Prices in the best restaurants have not lowered their quality. They've raised their prices and kept their quality at that or improved it even in their experience. Is that they've improved their experience. All those things take a significant. We talked about it. A heart of service, having a heart for things that requires significant effort. Hiring the right people, it requires a significant effort. It's surviving, taking and making it through. Maybe you're brand new. Maybe you're young. You're 20 years old. Maybe you're 50 years old, and you just gave up your career. Or you're a young person, you just gave up your job and you went into business full time. It's okay. Be willing to go back and make this your side gig just for a little while. Just get through it any way you can. Survive this because those efforts, those significant efforts are going to pay off. In connection with people and building people's trust up, it takes time. And it sounds crazy. It's really not hard work. It's just being honest with yourself. I like that. And then right with that is developing the new skills.
Yep.
I mean, is maybe you're kind of shy. Maybe you don't like to speak in front of somebody. Maybe you don't know how to build a website. All those things are learnable. They're teachable. And if you're teachable, you can learn these things. Is I always tell people our middle daughter got a full ride Air Force scholarship. And I think a big reason myself, I don't know if she'd agree or not, but Toastmasters, she learned to speak. She jumped into that in high school, and I remember going to to the finals down in Palm Springs, California for the state finals. And she was so upset because I think she took top 3. She didn't take the top position. But every other kid up there came up there with notes. And she didn't know notes were allowed. So she went up and ad-libbed her whole thing without notes. So who really won? Does that make sense? In my eyes, she won. But is those new skill sets, if you need to learn it, there's somebody or an organization that will teach it.
Well, and think about this, none of you guys were born detailers. You guys all learned that skill, whether you went out and got training or whether you turned on YouTube or just learned
Mom and Dad's car when you're a kid.
That's right. But you taught yourself, or you stepped up and got educated.
Hey, let's go back even further than that. The first second that doctor pulled you out, slapped you on the ass, and you started breathing. That was the first time.
Yep.
That was you start. I mean, they slapped you and got you breathing, and you'd never breathed before. But you're learning as you go. Everything in life is about learning as you go, and developing new skill sets is absolutely critical. Here's the thing: is what you learn during tough times will take and propel you through the good times. Is that you're just going to gobble up good market share. And the next one's really important. Number 3 is reliant. Be self-reliant. And so what this means is, none of us are going to do this solo. You're going to need help. You're going to need people to back you up. And we say self-employed, but and self-made. But are you really self-employed? Are you really self-made? Is the answer to that, and maybe I didn't feel this way 20 years ago, but the answer to that is no and no. Is that we have so many people lifting us and pushing us, and at least the smart people do, is that you got so many people you're learning off, even if it's silent learning, if you're just observing. And I've done so much of that during my career, my life, still do it. We had such an amazing group here we've had just amazing groups this whole year. Really, my whole life has been around amazing people. But my takeaways from people, I end the week and I've got notes from people that are here to learn. I'm learning from them. As much as we're dishing out, is that I have 10 takeaways every single time we put a training on that is, I won't call it life-changing, but it's an impact. Those items make an impact.
Yep. Next one, number 2. So mentally tough people focus on what they can control. Pretty much you don't focus on the things that are out of your control.
Your mind. First off, You got total control. Nobody else does. Is that, last night I didn't sleep super. I had a lot of stuff on my mind. That's me. Finally, I just said, come on, really? Why is this even on your mind? I went to sleep. So what you allow in your mind or what you don't put in your mind, that's the first thing you got to control. The other thing is when times get a little tough is your fear, is your anxiety. Is just take a deep breath. It's going to be okay. This isn't life or death. It's life or death of your income. But if you're willing to go hustle it and find a side gig, maybe make this your side gig, there's reality. Is I've got 2 people I'm thinking of right now that launched in 2008. Oh man, I'm thinking to myself, God, these guys are this is going to be tough. And you know what they did is they didn't get rid of their day job. They kept their day jobs and they kept building up, and they built a foundation. And I think it was in 2010, not even 2 years later, they gave up their day jobs and went full time into business. And they were patient, and they allowed others to help build them. They got referrals. They did all the right things, and they made all the right efforts, and it really paid off. Is that your actions, your personal development, what you do to build yourself up? You can't just go into business, put a sign out in the old field of dreams, build it and they'll come. It ain't going to happen. Is you're going to have to get out there and you're going to have to educate people. You're going to have to become sharp at marketing. If you don't know marketing, you have to take some class. There's so many cool marketing courses out there now. It's funny because through the last 4 years, I've gone through a lot of training. I went through a lot of military and search and rescue training this year, school, and I was back in school. We didn't have any of those classes over COVID, or they are limited. We had them, but they're super limited. And I didn't want to sit in there with 8 people, 20 feet apart with mask on, and gas mask and rubber gloves and everything else. So I kind of delayed that. But, this is the first time I haven't physically been back to a junior college or university, I think my whole life. This is the longest span I've had without going back to school. And at this point is there's so many great marketing classes. I took code classes back in 06, 07 to learn code because we were building websites. We couldn't find good website builders at the time. And we had friends of ours that I'd pick their brain, Jody and Rod up in Idaho. I'd pick their brain, but I knew I had to do this on my own. It was a big website and I just had to learn it. So I started taking code classes. I found a platform that really didn't need code, but you did every once in a while. And I built a website, and it was a very functional, high producing website. And so it was a new skill set.
Cool. Next one. What do you call it? They learn from their failures.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you if you look at all the things that we miss on, there's a lot more misses than there are hits. Mm-hmm. Is that I'm willing to go out there. I don't look at those as failures. I look at every opportunity. Even when we get, if we get a situation to where we can learn from it in business, and we go out and we miss a target completely, is that we look at it afterwards. We do an after action report. We do a debrief on it. We look at it. We try to grow from it. And that's huge. And there's times even in recent times that really I've owned shit just to get stuff done, just to get it behind us. There's going to be those times hey, you know what? Even if you don't feel you're 100%, it's with a customer, it doesn't matter. Within a relationship, if you can be the bigger person and take out from it and end any kind of drama that starts pushing you ahead again instead of stalls you out, just own that shit. Don't stop trying to make a point. Trying to make a point and a lot of times it's amateur hour. Is just move ahead, own your shit. Take note of it, write it down, learn from it. Don't make those same mistakes again.
Yep. Yeah. Apply those lessons learned, right?
Yep.
The next thing that mentally tough people do is they keep their promises. And this is not only to others, but to
yourselves. That is the biggest one, is keeping your promises to yourself. I can only think of maybe a couple handful of times to where I haven't kept my word in business. And to this day, there's situations back in my career, and it wasn't obscenely wrong things. I just didn't believe wholeheartedly in what I was offering. Does that make sense? And so it wasn't even that I didn't keep my promise. I just didn't keep my oath to myself or my customer. I knew that was an okay thing, but it wasn't great. And I really concentrated on the great things and not the okay things. And those things still to this day, I don't go back, but I learn from them. And so I keep them in my memory because I don't like the taste of them. So I can still, you eat something and like you'll wake up the next morning, there's a little, coming up. That's a good reminder that wasn't a good situation. When those burps, those after action burps come up and you remember those things, are those are directions not to go again. And so I like to remember those things, but don't get caught up on them.
Yeah. It's that heartburn, right? Don't eat that crap again.
Right.
Since my new diet, I haven't had any heartburn.
What's that telling you? Body's responding.
That's right. All right. Next one, item number 5. So mentally tough people don't make excuses.
It's real easy to pass the buck. That's the easiest thing to do. It's again, amateur hour. Is that, if you can make, I've got a saying, and I try to even spread this throughout our companies right now, is don't say no. Is that when I'm a customer of a company, I don't like to hear, I don't think any of us like to hear no. But instead, what I'll say is, and kind of no is kind of an excuse to me, is that when somebody comes up and says, hey, I'd like to have this car, my budget's about $300. Can I get it done for that? I don't like to say no, because that's such a blunt wall, right? Instead, what I'll do is I'll say, okay, let's define detail a little bit. What I can do for $300 is this. Give them an alternative. And while that is no excuse, is that even with myself, is that I'm not going to I don't like to say no to myself. I'll say, how do I get over this? How do I climb it? Right behind us, just to the north, is a huge hill. And I haven't done it this year because we got so busy. And I need to get back into it. And this is coming back into my hiking time right now. but there's a hill, and it's about 2,300 vertical feet right behind us. And I was known about once a week, I just go out, take off, get up it, and I tried a new route every time. There's really no trails, and there's a lot of bouldering. And I'd get several times. I remember coming down about a year ago, and I'm coming down, and it's just before dark, and I ran into about an 80-foot drop. And I could go back up, or I was trying to find a way down to the side. I wanted to get down and beat the sunset down, was the deal. And so I was like, okay, let's get out of my comfort zone. So I sent up a rappel line. I set up a bailout line of equipment that I went back up and retrieved it, by the way, because it was about $20 worth of equipment. And I just put my ropes on and got right down that hillside. I didn't make an excuse for myself.
There you go.
I wanted to challenge myself and make it hard on myself. And it was kind of cool. And I did it with, if you guys know, a rigger's belt, which is really uncomfortable. And it wasn't a straight vertical. It was probably, 70 degree slope. So pretty much straight down, but it was not a comfortable exit. Yeah. But I made it home, and I kept my promise to myself, and I didn't have an excuse.
Awesome. I was just reading a comment here. We got a comment here that says Dirty Mike and the Boys was the best group we had this year.
I'm telling you, Dirty Mike and the Boys, man. Yeah, that soup kitchen, man, I'll tell you, it was something else. You guys, some people know what I'm talking about, others won't.
All right, so number 6 is mentally tough people have a never quit attitude. So they, no matter what, they just don't quit.
And so, again, as you go back to, I think my lessons as a young person, getting in and seeing some of the horrific things that we saw that humans do to humans do to themselves, how freaking stupid some people can be, especially now we call it, the search and rescue by cell phone. And so we got into probably 20, 25 years ago where these people would put themselves in horrible, dangerous positions and rely on their cell phone to come get them, and that's sometimes we can do it. It's definitely helped in that situation. But, the people that quit died. The people that had this amazing outlook on life, had amazing energy, had purposes, is that's the other thing is when you go to quit, what's your purpose? What are you doing this for? And I'll tell you, one of them better be yourself, and you better have your limits. Is that so many people, they want to do it for their spouses, their kids, their family, all these different things. Those are all noble items, but you're going to damage yourself if there's not you in that recipe. Is that you've got to be doing this for freedom among yourself without becoming enslaved in your business. Because listen, a lot of people will take and quit their grind only to grind twice as hard. They'll quit their grind to be their own boss, to reduce stress, only to stress themselves out or kill themselves. Is that you've got to take and never quit, but you can't quit making your business better, and you can't quit on making your business build a better life.
Right. And you can't quit on making yourself better.
Nope. Not at all. Not at all.
So next item, this one's big for me right now for what I'm working on with myself, but mentally tough people learn to live with discomfort.
I think discomfort, if there's going to be when I met Diane, is that I remember as we were starting to get more serious, I told her, hey, I'm a habitual entrepreneur, and I'm going to take you to Everest eventually. But in the meantime, we're going to hit sea level. We're going to go to Mount Whitney, which is the highest mountain here in Southern California. And we're probably going to come down to sea level again in Death Valley. There's going to be, we're young. I'm young. I'm going to take some big risk. And ironically, the first big risk I took, we hit Mount McKinley in Alaska, which is over 20,000 feet. We're back in Death Valley 2 years later. I mean, we've never hit a big hit like that since then. But I warned her right beforehand. Is I was a risk taker, and I knew when I was younger that I had. And looking back, was that silly? Yeah, I didn't need to take that big a risk, but it was worth it. I wouldn't go back and change it. I'd like to have that money back. But the experience it gave me and the people I met, I got to tell you, in the long run, this is part of the, going back to not quitting, is in the long run, that really paid off. I mean, that exposure. And we still, to this day, Chris will tell you straight out, man, we're going over, I got a whole new list of ideas, that I want to go over with you.
I wouldn't expect anything less.
I'm calling it loose ends. That's the notes page that we're going to go over today. And so, is learn to be discomfort. Now, a thing that I've always done is in my personal life, every day, Diane walked into this morning, I'm getting ready to take a shower.
It's funny.
And she walks in and she gets in the shower and she goes, wow, the shower's warm for you. I said, no, I had it on completely cold. And she goes, you're nuts. Because every day I always in my showers is I turn it to cold and get uncomfortable. The reason why is that if you're used to, this is my theory, if you're used to discomfort, it's like, what's that? Andy's got that program, 75 Hard.
Yeah.
Is that, is really about, it's not about losing weight or getting, and you just mentioned it. This isn't just going to take and make you a hot, desirable husband to your wife, is that it's going to make you mentally tough. When you get through this, when you get to your ideal weight, you're going to be mentally tougher. You're going to be able to say no to things that were tempting before. And that's as important. The health concerns, the physical health concerns are important. The mental side of it that you're going to gain is massive.
Well, and it brings down to one of the items here to discuss is that, right now it's uncomfortable for me to say no to all these foods, to not eat, to be a little hungrier than I usually am, all that kind of stuff. But in the end, I'm going to gain comfort.
Oh yeah,
on the backside.
Absolutely.
Right. So discomfort's going to lead to comfort.
And and who knows what you're doing for the lifespan with your family and yourself, the gift that you're giving yourself. We're watching a series I love to have when I was working on, just adding, you did most of the notes on this one. Did a great job, by the way. But when I was going through it last night, just adding little tidbits to it, we're watching a series called Alone. Have you ever watched it? Mm-hmm. It's really fascinating. It's a survival show. And they put these 10 individuals out in these pretty gnarly positions out by themselves. They're alone in the wilderness. And this one, they're out at, they call it Grizzly Island up in Canada. And they're at this lake and they're by themselves and there's grizzly bears. As a matter of fact, it's migration time where these bears are coming into the lake to get salmon. And the salmon, there was a huge landslide and there's no salmon this year. So the bears are hungry and they're looking at these guys like, you could be a good little snack, and it's funny because the discomfort, you've got some serious survivalists. And I love watching it because a lot of them, the hardcore is that one of the guys on the series we're watching, it's literally the first series, was military. And he made a great observation. He says, the reason why I just tapped out was that when I was in the military, it wasn't an option. You had to stay there. This was too easy. I have too many important things. I've got my kids and my wife at home, and it wasn't mandated that I stay here and abuse my body and my mind. There was an exit out. And in the beginning of your business, you've also got to limit yourself. I see people that go at it, and there's a reason why so many businesses fail in the first 10 years, is that they make it through year 5 because they're overworking this thing, is that they're basically enslaved by their business. And I say that with all respect because I've been there, but by year 10, they're just over it and they never want to go back into it again. And so while it's cool to watch people build a business up, is when I watch people build a business and they're enslaved, not impressive. Is that you have got to have a business that is enslaved to you, not that you're enslaved to it. It's got to take and build up your life. You don't need to be its life. If you're the entire breathing mechanism for that company and you can't ever turn it off, is that you're going to be either you're a soloist and you have no life, and I hope you get to the end and you're happy, but I doubt it. I think you're going to be pretty miserable.
Yep. All right, last one, number 8, is dream big, and that's so tough people dream big. They don't just settle for mediocre dreams.
I'm going to add one to it because this is something you dream constantly. Is that not knowing? I heard this with Andy and what's his partner's name?
Ed Milet.
Yeah, Ed. Is that one of the things that I really love is I watch real estate all over the country and even some different spots in the world that are I just love it. I love watching what's going on right now. It's just really cool is you can see the markets that really blew up that don't have any industry behind. There's so much you can learn. I also watch the car industry. Bring a Trailer, a couple other ones, the other auction that you got me hooked on.
Cars and Bids.
Yeah, Cars and Bids. There's other ones. And so I really watch those. Well, Andy and Ed were talking months and months ago, and they send each other properties all the time. And we both listened to a private thing they did where Ed was talking about he bought a $20 million house sight unseen.
Mm-hmm.
Did you hear that? And so, it's really cool to see the habits of wealthy people, and then not even knowing it is that on a minuscule level. I know you watch the real estate business in your local area, but also in Idaho,
Yep.
and so forth, is that you've got to feed your mind. So I've got background noise. I'm usually reading something, but real estate to me is real entertaining, and it's a part of our bigger picture. The biggest thing that I struggled with is coming from my background. I think anybody's background, it really doesn't matter, is that I really had a problem thinking I deserved those big dreams. When Ed said that I bought a $20 million house, sight unseen, is 15 years ago, is that I wouldn't even thought about that. Now I think about what's holding me back from doing the same thing. Does that make sense?
$20 million.
$20 million. No, it's about $18 million. So about 17 million is holding me back, about 17 million. But my point to that is that if you keep yourself in the $500,000 house in your mind, you're going to stay in that $500,000 house your whole life. Nothing wrong with it. If that's your goal, listen, and here's the other bullshit thing is that don't let other people, influencers, especially in social media, guys like gurus and everything else. I love Tony Robbins had a thing on that he said that he's not your guru. And that's so true is don't make other people your guru. Make yourself your guru. And just because Ed Myott's going out and buying a $20 million house, that doesn't mean that's your reality. It doesn't mean that you can't do it. Maybe you don't want to do it. I have no interest in going and buying a $20 million home. None.
That's a lot of upkeep.
That's a lot of and that's how I look at it. Is that and here's the thing: is I've got other plans for my life. That could I go out and make something like that happen? Absolutely. Do I want to? No. I'm at the stage. Even when I was younger, I was too busy skiing. I wanted to take and build a life with a small business that could afford to give me the life. What did I want to do? Be in the outdoors. I wanted to ski. I'm talking when I was really young. That's continued. I lost it for a little bit, but it's. I got my ski pass for this year up on the desk. Just got it in the mail yesterday. I can't wait.
Hopefully, you get some snow.
Oh yeah, exactly. Well, we almost got some last night. We had a hard freeze last night, and so is my biggest challenge has been to allow myself to dream a little bigger, is not to box myself in. And I think a lot of people listening probably got that same outlook, especially for those of us that are blue collar, is there's no reason you got to box yourself into that. The other thing is if you're young, stop comparing yourself to people 20 years older than you. And also there's no reason for you to wait. Is that you can do anything you want at any age you want. Doesn't matter. Yeah. It doesn't matter. But I'm going to tell you right now, hang around with smart people, be the dumbest person at the table, allow yourself to think, be realistic, but hit huge and there's goals I don't share with anybody. They're in my mind, but I share them with a few or a couple, not even a couple people, that are my big goals. I think that's really important too, that you share that.
Yep. One of the notes I have down here is that, when you pursue big dreams, it means that you have to have big actions to get there. Right. So that's part of it. That's part of what's making, building that mental toughness.
Absolutely. So. And not only that, but you've got to have the people surrounding you. And so you've either got to have, it's going to start out with you and your dream. You're going to have to build it from there, but they're going to have the right people to make that dream. And then you got to know that team's going to maybe grow. How big do you want that team? Is that we don't spread out, this way. Is my businesses aren't going to go this way. They're growing this way. And so we're going to do a lot with a little. That's how I want things. That's how I envision. I had 30 something staff members at one time, and I hated every second of it.
Yeah.
It wasn't for me. When the mafia got to a certain size, I had to go to the members of the mafia and say, look, I don't know how to run a big group like this. I have no idea. There's people, Harry, that ran a police union with hundreds and hundreds of police officers. He knew how to run it, and so he took off with it. And the reason why is I just didn't know how to do it, and he did. And so that realization, that doesn't mean that you weren't still a big part of your organization. It just means that you were being truthful with yourself of what your abilities were or are.
Yep.
And so the one thing that I've learned through all of this, and we'll go out of here, is that it's when we come into tough times, and tough times again, economic, or you're growing your business, maybe competition comes in and kind of turns up the heat a little bit, is the one thing I've always learned is to dominate, is that you've got to dominate the conversations in your market. You've got to dominate. You're going to have to do things you don't want to do. You're going to have to dominate on the social media, but not just by putting useless posts up, but by educating, by having empathy, by having connections, by making people laugh. I love when a company has a little bit of humor, and especially a company that I'm a fan of. Again, a prime example of this is you look at Chick-fil-A and their billboards with, the cows,
Eat more chicken.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you look at that, how creative was that? And I remember getting a real chuckle out of it when those first came out. There's all kinds of illustrations. There's one I love to share with, I think it was Maserati, had an ad in Cigar Aficionado that had this beautiful woman, the silhouette, she's in lingerie. And you've heard this one before. And it says, come on, you're not her first, but does it really matter?
Yeah, and it was for pre-owned cars.
Yeah, it was, Maserati pre-certified used car or certified used cars. And I thought, oh my God, I mean, strong message, right? But I mean, it made me laugh. And that was probably a decade ago. And I still think of that ad to today. And so when you think about all those different factors, is that when we're in a time like we are right now, or any time, it's no time to coward. You can't go into hiding. Is that going into hiding and putting your head in the sand is only going to make everything absolutely 100 times worse. 100 times worse. It's no blame game. Is that you own this? It's 100% you. Nobody else did it. Your staff didn't do it. A wicked partner didn't do it. A spouse didn't do it. If you're screwing up, it's you. And get over that right now. Just address it and go with it. You have one goal: thrive. That's it. There's one goal. You've got to thrive. If it takes a part-time gig, good. If it takes turning your full-time gig into a part-time and go and find something full-time until the whatever you're going through passes, good. Go do it. Survive. At all costs, survive. You've got to get through it, because on the backside, you got to remember, there's a lot of talkers in all the industries right now. I don't care what you look at. Foot Locker. I talked about my horrible experience I had at Foot Locker. Is that I can't imagine they're gaining market share right now. And listen, they can't afford for people to walk in and walk out like I just did. Is that it had been a while since I've been in there, because my last experience wasn't great. This one was downright horrible. And so you've got to look at this, is that as we as consumers we have a higher expectation. You've got to be meeting, or really ideally, you've got to go over the top of that expectation, period. It doesn't do that.
You just mentioned something. Can't afford to have people walk out their door. Nobody really can. Once you start thinking that way, that, you don't need that guy, it's dangerous.
Now, with that being said, there's people you don't want in your business, right?
Yeah.
There's people that surround you just don't want there. But you don't want people leaving because of exact what I walked into, is that just an absolute horrible culture. It was just now it might be, maybe here's the other factor is that their audience is the 20-something crowd. Maybe I'm not their audience anymore. That could be it. But I'll tell you what, I couldn't imagine owning a business where I'm spending that kind of, what audience has the money? Now, yeah, the 20-something crowd, 30-something crowd might be putting out the $150, $200 shoes, $300 shoes. Maybe that's the case. But to me, is that when you alienate and treat a person that's spending money like that, that's a bad thing. That's a real bad thing. And then lastly is surround yourself with the entirely the right people. Is that is I knew that I had great friends my whole life. I've had just absolutely fantastic friends, and some of my childhood friends are still really close friends. But there was in that mix my entire life has been some poisonous people, and you've got to take and be able to recognize that, and that's something I haven't been really good at. You're warned, your own warning signs, the little lights in your brain go off, kind of warning you about people, is that you've got to be able to surround yourself with people that have been through shit that you just haven't witnessed yet, and get smart through them. And that's probably the best thing that I've ever, even to today, is that I rely on people. Is that I've had, I would say, in the last 10 days, I've spoke with 3 of the 4 most influential. No, that's not right. 3 of the 6. Half of the people that helped build me into the person and entrepreneur I am, I've spoke to in the last 10 days. I've gone back to them because I wanted to see what they're thinking, because I've lived through a lot. They've lived and witnessed a lot more, and they're a lot wiser than I am. So with that, tomorrow we're down at detailing.com.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, I am.
You and Kyle Clark from PNS are going to be down there.
Yep. So we're going to be doing an event. So if you want to go to that, check out their website. It is a slightly pay-to-play event on coatings. Kind of a new topic. We're going to go over and talk about how to fix coatings, and what to do to kind of maintain coatings, and when you get high spots, or if you want to polish out, or if you want to compound a coating, what the options are. So we're going to be there. SEMA's right. How many people will we have for our party Wednesday night at SEMA?
When I last checked yesterday, 499.
Wow. So almost 500 people.
Yeah,
right?
I'm sure it's over that.
So it's going to be, for those that are going to SEMA, is we have our annual get together on Wednesday evening. It's an amazing event. We've got some great people that are helping us to put this on. We make it free of charge. You do have to RSVP, but we're going to do some about 6 giveaways with combined packages. Some of them are worth a lot of money. Some of these gift packages that we're going to be giving away. SEMA's right there. So it's going to be the first week of November. We're there. There's so many things going on, so many cool things going on. The Mafia's got our main event that Saturday.
Yeah, we do a private education event that Saturday, so everybody stays in town an extra day longer. We've got a guest speaker coming in. He's an expert on customer service.
Yeah, relationship Velcro. I love that. When Mike says that, I just, in his book, I'm going through the 3rd read right now, and I'm putting all my notes back in there. So we've got him. Mike's going to do a work class, and then believe it or not, at a wink of an eye, we're going to be at Mobile Tech. It's not that far out.
It's not that far.
It really isn't. And
already working on it.
Boy, I'll tell you, yeah, it's unreal. So, hey, everybody, if you enjoyed this, make sure to hit like, subscribe, share it. And again, we love your comments. So you can send me a personal email, Renny, RENNY, @detailingsuccess.com. Chris, any exiting words on this?
No, I don't think so. I think we covered it pretty good.
It
seemed to go well.
It does. And it was a great subject. And again, is that, don't freak out, man. These setbacks in the economy are actually opportunities. And so people are, I'll be talking to people, and they'll kind of look around and they'll say, hey, man, how hard do you think it's going to hit? Oh, shit, nobody knows, and they really don't. And honestly, it's the old adage. It's not about what you make. It's about what you spend. Just get your spending under control. Remember who you are, balance everything out. Don't go crazy. Live within your means, and you'll be fine. And just be dedicated to making it happen. So we want to thank everybody. PNS again, Team Double Black. They make this possible. All of our supporters, so many people in the industry. So hey, did you see? I got a couple new pieces up there. That old Chevy.
Yeah,
is that cool?
A few antiques.
We do, and then. George Washington is one of my heroes. I think I've done a lot of studying on him. So I found that bank. I'm not sure when it's on. I got to see if I can find it. I think it's probably from the 50s or 60s.
There you go. George Washington bank.
Yeah. So I think it's pretty old, but I'll have to take and see if I can find it somewhere and see how old it is. But we want to thank everybody. Make sure we'll be back next week. And then stay tuned. Go in and RSVP. Go over to Detailing Success. Where's the RSVP for the party?
You can find it on Detailing Success Instagram. Just go to the link in bio. There's also an event page on the Detailing Success Facebook page. So it should be pretty easy to find.
Cool. All right, everybody, you guys take care. Have a powerful rest of the week. We'll talk to you next time. Chris, thanks, buddy.
Yep. See you
We'll
guys.
see you guys.